Hi, good morning, India. Yeah, good afternoon. Somewhere, good evening in California, and good night, sleepy time in East Coast. Welcome you all. This is a Medbix webcast. My name is Raman Scanner. Um, Today, I'm not Albert Einstein, but I'm pretty good. So, welcome you all. The show is that Medbix is a healthcare media channel, specialized channel is for the healthcare professionals, is not for general public. They can watch it, but is for the mostly for healthcare professionals. I'm a physician advocacy program. This is, we wanted to promote physicians and their ideas. This is a physician advocacy channel. So what the model of this show is that I introduce some guests and then important guests, and then after that I speak with them for 15-20 minutes, and after that I present I do a presentation related to medicine, in related to mathematics, physics, that related to medicine. Not, they don't hear from medical books. This is something new. So it is catching up quite a bit, and a lot of physicians are liking it. So thank you all for joining and appreciating my channel. I really thank you so much. But it is you know the Ayurveda. The today's show is an Ayurveda, and I'm going to introduce you a very distinguished guest from India. He is joining from India directly. But Ayurveda is a 3,000-year-old Ayurveda is a 3,000-year-old a medicine that is a very well practiced medicine in India. It is a combination of whole body, mind, spirit, and environment, all of them together in one. My father is a doctor in a small town in Ayurvedic, and he did a practice in homeopathy, Ayurvedic, and allopathy, American medicine. He practiced the English medicine. He did practice all of them. So I think you use it when discreetly on all of them wherever there is required. So I think Ayurveda is picking up in the United States. We don't have I'm going to talk with our guest, but Ayurveda is a 3,000-year-old medicine. It is a combination of all. It is not just a people think it is a kind of herbal. It is a combination of mind, body, spirit, and environment, all of them together in the 3,000-year-old medicine. It may be longer than is a British BC. That's what Rajiv could say that. But in the Western standards, at least it's 3,000 years old. So without a further ado, I'm going to bring a Rajiv Vasudevan. Is actually a guest. He is from India. He's a founder of the Ayurveda Hospital in Bangalore. Okay, and he has a distinguished career, I think, in the Ayurveda area. I have a little and least knowledge in the Ayurveda area, even though my father was practicing a little bit. So I'm going to ask him the basics of the Ayurveda, and why we need to be in the Western world, need to embrace this Ayurveda. All the physicians must incorporate some extent. I think in more you know about it, more you appreciate Ayurveda. So without a further ado, I'm going to bring Rajiv to the stage. Rajiv, welcome. Medbix Webcast, welcome.
Thank you. Namaste to you and to all your guests.
Thank you. So tell me, give me some background of yours. How did you end up where you started it? Were you born in Bangalore, or just give me some of your background, your educational and
Like
up to this
many,
point.
like many Indians, Ramana, we are born in one part of India, we study in other parts, and we work in different parts. So that's what makes India truly a diverse, potpourri of cultures, which all blends together into a uniform whole. And so I was born in Gujarat. I studied in Bombay, Kerala, Calcutta. I have worked in Chennai, Bangalore, Bombay, and then Kerala, and then in Indian multinationals and US multinationals. So we tend to spread ourselves in that sense. So that's my background. I'm an engineer and an MBA from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, and worked in several corporate roles before I joined the Kerala government for 2.5 years to promote investment into Kerala, and then set up Ayurveda. I just want to clarify the name of my organization is Ayurveda VAID Hospitals. That's a trademark name, and that is for the initial introduction. And I mean, I can be very
Yeah,
happy to go into Ayurveda as we
yeah,
go along.
yeah. You don't need to. So basically, this is an introductory program. Let me. I'm going to. It's a basically introductory program, Rajiv. It is. It is. So one of the things that when I started it, just let us talk about some of the chronic diseases, particularly in the
Okay.
rheumatoid arthritis. I found out that more I studied it, and I was surprised. Celebrate one of the medicines they use in the United States is the rheumatoid arthritis is the Celebrex, this anti-inflammatory, and it is a drug for arthritis. But I saw that Indian drug when they did a 2013. This is a national NIH, National Institute of Health from the United States, did a sponsored study. In the study, it found out that in the there is a drug that from India that basically Ayurvedic drug, glucosamine, I think glucosamine contains glucosamine that is equally effective with the rheumatoid arthritis, particularly. So, can you give us shed
Okay.
some light on that area a little
So
bit?
quickly, let me do one thing, Ramana. I think I
Okay.
just want to flesh out some of the points you said earlier. When, as you did say, it's 3,000-year-old tradition, and then you said maybe it is going back to BC. I just would like to say, 3,000 years back, Ayurveda was put into the accumulated wisdom of mankind of this part of the world was put into a very structured, systematic uh, rendition. It was just organized in a way which. So when we say Ayurveda is 3,000 years old, Shushruta Samhita is 600 BC. If you want to go back, so it's about 2,700 years. But the fact is that is the culmination of human thought up to that point. So it's much older. So that's why we say in Ayurveda that Ayurveda was told by Brahma, Lord Brahma, who's a creator, to the Ashwins, in turn to Indra, and so on. So it says from the beginning of life itself on earth is when Ayurveda begins. So while we go beyond the mythology, it is old. Number two, as you correctly told, it is body, mind, spirit healing. Very important. When we say holistic, a lot of times we just take body and mind. Holistic is body, mind, and spirit. But going into one very important distinction in approaching this whole thing is Ayurveda is systems thinking, and you use the word environment in one of your definitions. You talked about body, mind, spirit, and environment. So, what is the role of environment? So, Ayurveda looks at a being, a living being, and Ayurveda comes from Sankhya yoga, where you have this concept of Prakriti and Purusha. But going back to the crux of this matter, when you look at the person and his or her environment and a state of harmony between the living being and the environment. So let me clarify. A state of good health is where a person has the ability to restore this dynamic balance. And when I look at systems thinking as applied to this system, I have a system which is my human body, and I have an environment. Systems thinking, which is modern management jargon or management concept, talks about how do I optimize at the systemic whole level, not at a part level. Now, this gives us a very powerful reason to look at a many to many cause and effect relationship. Why I'm bringing this up, it's very important to understand. Some of the questions on rheumatoid arthritis will become evident. The answers will become evident, or the wrong answers will become evident when I, bring this in. So when I look at many to many cause and effect scenario as opposed to a single cause, single effect scenario, there is a one to many, one to one to many to one, and many to many. So when you look at many to many cause and effect relationship, Ayurveda is completely based on such a complex situation where many things interact. And therefore, this many to many thing, how do I reduce it into a comprehensible, analyzable derivative of that set of many to many concepts? Ayurveda gives us a framework. So, going back 3,000 years, our ancestors in this part of India did not get caught into the reductionist single cause, XY coordinate thing. They looked at the whole. So that is why it's extremely powerful. And going to the next step to your rheumatoid arthritis point,
Yeah,
Ayurveda is
before you go into the rheumatoid arthritis, I was mentioning from the Western point of view. That's why I brought you. We need to be educated here, including Indian physicians and Western physicians. I have a lot of audience from there. So I think you're touching a point, a systems health. It is a much more combination of environment and all the traditions of the India from a BC long before came in, accumulated that knowledge of and wisdom from the long.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah,
next thing is Ayurveda is
yeah,
a little bit. Give us a little bit. You can go ahead now. Thank you. That's why we brought you here to
sure,
educate
yeah,
us. One of
yeah,
the I'm going to explain to you a little bit what is needed in the United States or in the Western world, and what are the things you can help us to do that. So I will explain. I will explain to you that what are the things required in this country for the Ayurveda to be actually part of the mainstream.
sure. Thank you, Ramana. So, going from systems thinking, we should appreciate that there are two things very, very critical. One, the Ayurveda, the doctor and the patient relationship is very important. That means basically it is not never meant to be one herbal dietary supplement or functional food that I pick up on the shelves of a supermarket. It is always it is a prescription approach at one level when I look at medicine. The other hand, it is about empowering the individual. The primary concept is of empowering oneself with the right insights so that I have the right insights which lead to the right behavior. The right behavior leads to the right health outcomes. So Ayurveda is about empowering the individual with the right insights. So going the next step, what do I empower the person with? With what diet, what lifestyle, what state of mind, right? And if these do not work in sustaining a state of good health, how do I go to medicine? And then, if medicine for highly chronic and severe imbalances. So, what is disease in Ayurveda? So, let's quickly touch upon because otherwise it all gets connected. So, my innate constitution is my Prakriti or my innate nature, right? What I have been uh, given by my parents in terms of my genetic potential is my Prakriti, right? This Prakriti interacts with the environment outside, my food and diet choices in a particular place time to maintain a state of balance or to create imbalance in me. When imbalance is created in me, that Prakriti becomes Vikriti or a mischief with my Prakriti, right? There is a mischief happening with my constitution. The moment the mischief happens, what Ayurveda says, I've drifted from my state of innate balance. How do I restore that back to this balance? The word balance is much misunderstood. And, again, it's a word which is a favorite word. Everybody says balance, balance. What is balance in relation to what has to be understood? But let me just get back quickly. Restoration of Vikriti, depending on the extent of Vikriti, right? So if you were to look at a disease tree in my body, right, my root cause behaviors, diet, lifestyle, which is inappropriate. There's never anything good or bad in Ayurveda. So generally people come and say, drink cranberry juice, it's good for this particular UTI or something. There's never a one size fits all in Ayurveda. Everything is good for somebody at some place at some time and bad for somebody else at some place at some time. So you don't have a universal thing. So what Ayurveda says is quickly, the diet, lifestyle, medicine, therapy, and counseling, the mental piece, these, depending on the extent of deviation, you are able to uh, intervene with one or more. But diet and lifestyle is always the foundation, then medicine and therapy. Now, when I look at the rheumatoid arthritis trial that you referred to, unfortunately, what has happened in these trials, although this is with the NIH, this is like to fit a square peg into a round hole because, or as somebody would say, I have a passage of French poetry and you're interpreting it with the rules of English grammar. Whatever you interpret, you will see nonsense only.
Correct.
Okay? So, what that NIH study did actually was to show Ayurveda is comparable to what modern medicine does. In fact, Ayurveda is distinctly superior to modern medicine in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis. The error comes in the latest study, which was done about 5 years back. They tried to bring in a placebo. So I give one medicine from Ayurveda and I give a placebo, same looking pill, and try to do it. It is absolutely nonsensical to take these type of scientific. I would call it pseudo scientific in that way because I'm force fitting something. Ayurveda is always a whole person systemic approach, diet, lifestyle, medicine. It's a black box intervention. And if you look in a clinical level, we have treated over 3,000 patients, 300,000 patients till date, and in our 8 hospitals. And if you see lupus, so you take rheumatoid arthritis, it's a good point to illustrate how Ayurveda approaches. In modern medicine, rheumatoid arthritis is taken as an autoimmune condition, right, where the body is fighting itself. What is the reason for an autoimmune condition? I don't know, is what would be said. So what do? I suppress the immunological reaction of the body. So I'll put steroids, I'll put immunologicals to suppress the immune reaction of the body to some foreign body. What does Ayurveda do? Ayurveda has got a complete etiopathogenesis which is mapped out, right? What are the etiologies? The etiologies in terms of what diet, what lifestyle, what comorbidities, what mental factors, and then finally external factors. So we call it as Nidana Panchaka. For every disease, there is a five-fold causation which is there. And then it says, so basically what happens because of this, in rheumatoid arthritis, the closest equivalent I say, it's not exactly the same, would be Amavata, where due to incomplete digestion, there are toxins created in the body. These toxins spread and they present themselves in different joints and they manifest as pain. So what does Ayurveda do? We have to get rid of this ama. So there is a process of detoxification. At an early stage, diet lifestyle correction can correct it. Little further, diet lifestyle medicine. And if it is severe rheumatoid arthritis, not with deformities, but before that, you are able to do a process of detoxification and then clean out this thing, with which this thing gets cured. So the autoimmune, I'll just complete with this. I'm sorry, I know I'm maybe touching your time limit. In the autoimmune condition where the body is supposed to be fighting it, in Ayurveda, there's a counterintuitive way to put it. Ayurveda is not giving a medicine to treat a disease. Ayurveda is removing the impediments, the obstacles to the body healing itself. I hope I'm clear.
Yes.
It allows the body to heal itself by removing the obstacles to the body healing.
Correct.
So any disease that way becomes treatable by understanding what are the obstacles in the body's functioning, remove the obstacles and the body will heal itself. Yes.
So Western medicine is catching up on that one actually now, where, as you said. I think, there is a lot of ringing endorsement, even though some critics are there, but there are several endorsements came from John Hopkins, for example, and the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Medicine. They said that with the proper guidance for the Ayurvedic practitioners, it works. They gave the endorsement of the Ayurveda medicine. There are some
Yes.
aberrations in the here and there. They're saying that, but is overall the United States in general overall accepted even the institutions accepted the Ayurveda as a kind of a medicine that you could be adopted in along with the traditional medicine in the United States. That's what they, at least from the Western point of view. So I would ask you, what is missing here is, for example, diabetes. I saw that turmeric. Give me some of the things that you gave a very comprehensive idea of how the body heals itself. How do you empower the body to heal itself? Is
Yeah.
it
So we take
medicine,
something
or
like
is it
diabetes.
food,
Yeah.
or is it environment? What is all together?
So let's take this case of diabetes itself, Ramana. Okay.
Okay.
So if you look at the natural progression of diabetes itself, right? Just check on the net, just say natural progression of type 2 diabetes and see what comes up. You'll find that 10 to 12 years before I am diagnosed as a diabetic, right? So
Yeah.
today, if I'm diagnosed as being diabetic, 10 to 12 years prior to that, you'll find that if you were to check my insulin resistance, it has already peaked. 12 years, 10 to 12 years prior. 7 to 8 years before my actual diagnosis, we'll see the sugar level in my body increasing slowly because there is a tendency to increase that because the insulin resistance has peaked. Once it has peaked, then throughout the life of the patient remains a dip thing, right? It remains constant. And as it increases, my pancreas starts secreting more. I'm trying to tell the long tail of diabetes. It's quite interesting to see and how Ayurveda approaches this. So about 2 years before I'm actually diagnosed as being diabetic, suddenly my sugar level will go up from 90 to 95 to 98, like that it will go to 100. As it is approaching 100, I go to a doctor. Doctor will tell, oh, you're not exercising enough, you're not eating properly, start doing various things. Now, even at that point, the body can actually be corrected, but by then the damage is actually more or less done. My insulin resistance already peaked 10 years back. What Ayurveda does here, now this is what you would call an early stage. Okay, we call it pre-diabetes. Now, what is interesting, after that, modern medicine just gives up and says, 5.7 to 6.5% HbA1c is pre-diabetes, greater than 6.5% is diabetic, and anything about 9 or whatever broadly is severe diabetes. In Ayurveda, we have what is called broadly 3 stages of diabetes, which is based on the extent of the pathogenesis. No, the HbA1c is a measure, a symptom, is a measure of something. Fasting blood sugar is a measure. It is not diabetes. In Ayurveda, what we are able to characterize is at a systemic level the stage of the pathogenesis, and we call it Kabhaja Pramehi, Kabhaja Madhumeha, then we say Kabha Pittaja Madhumeha and Vataja Madhumeha. There are 3 stages. Now, Kabhaja Madhumeha is typically the obesity-driven early stage type 2 diabetes, is easily reversible in Ayurveda. Okay? Now, data for the US, when we was talking to one of the top Fortune 100 insurance companies in the US who was visiting India, a lady from Virginia, the senior director of that company, when I asked her, if there are 100 pre-diabetics in your insured pool, how many would become diabetic? Her answer, without batting an eyelid, without waiting 1 second, can you guess, Ramana, if 100, how many would become diabetic?
100.
100, exactly. She said 100. And I said, 100? Okay, she said 96 out of 100, right? So what does it mean? When I tried, so 96 out of 100 become diabetic. In Ayurveda, we could say if they're brought into a proper regimen, into proper Ayurveda treatment, not just one medicine. This Kabhaja Pramehi, Sukha Sadhya, very easily reversible, correctable. Kabha Pittaja is also I may say Sukha Sadhya to Krichira Sadhya, which is easily reversible or with some difficulty reversible. Vataja Pramehi is somebody who's gone to with diabetes with complications. That becomes difficult. There we don't say we can cure. Now, how do we cure diabetes? We have to correct the metabolism. So, one of the key areas, there are 2 processes centrally happening in the body, which we don't give full importance. The increasing in the West is looking at it, but when I look at underlying metabolism and look at inflammation, 2 core processes, right? So I say metabolic disorders, but in every human being, even somebody who's non-diabetic, how do I look at the quality of metabolism and how do I look at inflammation in the body? Both these broad processes are leading to many, many diseases, including diabetes. So what Ayurveda does is it improves metabolism. Agni Deepana, right? At an early stage, you take some herbal medicines, correct the diet and lifestyle. The subdued fire, the fire which is reduced, will blow back in a proper way. If it is a little more, then you have to do I told you about insulin resistance. You have to clear the insulin resistance, which is through a process of what you call amapachana. So we have again treatments, therapies for severe diabetes, where you're able to reduce the insulin resistance and improve the metabolism. So collectively, what happens as a result of this, I can show you, maybe experimental data that, for 50 patients, about 200 mg per dl fasting blood sugar, right? And the average sugar level reduction is 100 mg per dl. That means from 200 plus, they reduce at least 100 mg per dl in one course of care. In just 2.5, 3 weeks, that is a reduction. For people with HbA1c above 9, 2.2% is the average reduction in one course of care in Ayurveda, which is impossible to imagine. But it cannot be done with one magical medicine or tablet. It has to be done through a proper, personalized treatment plan. We
So,
call it
Rajiv,
chikitsa. Yeah.
Rajiv, thank you. That's a wonderful education for us, all of us. I think what I'm going to ask you when I get back after presenting my presentation. I'll get back to you. One of the things is the United States is struggling is that these 2 core standards. What are they don't know what are the standards to, since standards are to to implement in order to start the Ayurveda as a medicine in this country. They're struggling with the standards part of it. I think with your background, with your help, you could come back with that. I will ask you how we can do that and how we can start the hospital in the United States, that kind of Ayurveda hospital when I get back. Let me present while you are staying on the behind the scenes. You're staying here. We're going to watch with me the presentation from the
Sure.
land of the south. I'm going to present a phenomenal scientist from India. So let me. So this is I'm going to present Rajiv Vasudevan. I'm going to ask him come back after that. What is second another question we should ask Rajiv Vasudevan about the mental health. We are struggling with the mental health in the United States. What does Ayurveda says about it? And what are the standards we can come back for the United States to implement this kind of a Ayurveda hospital in North America. So let me give you this little bit about this. I'm going to Raman. I'm going to play a video about Raman quickly, and then after that, I'm going to present what is Raman, CV Raman is going to do. So let me bring this.
His name is Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman. He was born in Tiruchirappalli, state of Tamil Nadu, India. His name is long with numerous alphabets, but get used for it, because the next few decades belongs to this man. He is descending from heavens to destroy cancer. Just not cancer, he is omnipresent in every field: science, medicine, technology, engineering, and even theology. Welcome to the world of Raman gadgets. Raman probe. Point Raman probe to anyone and just click flash, just as you do on your phone. It gives instant result that person has a cancer or not. No elaborate testing, no other diagnostic testing required. Cancer detection in seconds. Raman pen. Raman pen, point and click at the finger and tell you the blood sugar levels instant. No more shedding of blood drops by millions of diabetic patients. Raman Scanner. Just place your hand gently on the Formanex Raman Scanner. It gives you the fruit and vegetable intake and in correlation with the antioxidant activity in your body. By monitoring antioxidant levels may help you to prevent some diseases. Raman Inspector. Raman Inspector, a handheld instrument, is an invaluable tool for law enforcement. Just point and click, it identifies the counterfeit drugs. Just point and click and can tell you it is a cocaine or any other illegal substance on the spot. No labs, no other testing required. Just point and click and can tell you right there if it is a hair gel or explosive material in the container without opening it. Raman Reporter. Just point and click and instantly tell you if that is a true Picasso or not. No other verification required. This is done deal. It is just taught. Raman optical tweezers, Raman microscope, Raman true narc, Raman imaging, Raman hyper, Raman transition, the list goes on. His name is truly omnipresent. This is not a science fiction. This is an extraordinary brilliance of a strikingly tall and dark handsome man from 19th century India. Hello, my name is Ramana Anamaraju and I have a passion for physics, specializing in allied healthcare and above all concern for all well-being of humanity. Sir Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman, usually referred as C.V. Raman, was born in 1888 near Chennai, India, and died in 1970. He discovered groundbreaking quantum phenomena in the field of optics while he was working as a professor of physics at University of Calcutta, India. He was knighted in 1929 by Queen of England and awarded Nobel Prize in 1930, first non-Caucasian ever to win in the field of science. His discovery is called Raman effect or Raman spectroscopy or Raman scattering, which are named after him. We only see objects, including people, when light falls on them and reflect back to our eye. But once in a while, the reflected light also gives stunning details about the molecular and atomic structure of the reflected matter, like a rotational and vibrational energies of the molecules or atoms. This unique reflection was discovered by C.V. Raman, and it is referred as a Raman scattering, along with few other names. With humans, Raman scattering gives exquisite details about the cell structure and its function like no other modality we ever seen before. Raman effect is the only way you can identify rotten apple from real ones without touching, smelling or cutting. This non-destructive method is unique to Raman discovery, so thus makes an invaluable tool in the field of medical diagnostics without exposure to any radiation. A perfect tool for law enforcement without opening containers to check for explosives. A perfect method to check the authenticity of the age-old art without using any chemicals. Raman scattering analyzes vibrational and rotational spectra of the target material by using a non-destructive method. Cancer. At present, one of the most advanced methods of detecting cancer is through positron emission tomography, referred as a PET scan. This highly expensive and complicated equipment occupies 10,000 square foot office building or placed on 18 wheelers. The average cost for this procedure is around $4,000. Imagine exam that combines into a single scan the diagnostic imaging power of 10 PET studies, each measuring an essential dimension of cancer's aggressiveness, metastatic potential, and susceptibility to the radio and chemotherapy at the cost less than $25. Raman spectrometer, handheld Raman spectrometer can deliver that punch with a style. By attaching gold nanoparticles to the cancer cells, Raman spectrometer hunts every one of the cancer cells, identifies them, and kills them with a nano-heated guided missiles. Well-respected magazine Diagnostic Imaging describes Raman spectroscopy, a quantum physics technique puts all preceding medical imaging modalities to shame. Raman, the cancer avenger, descended from heavens to rescue mankind from this fatal disease. Raman puts cancer detection is at our fingertips, figuratively and literally. C.V. Raman may be Hindu, but his discovery recanted the rituals in the church that happened centuries ago during early Christianity with stunning details. Santorio delle Peregrina, 13th century historical church sitting near a beautiful Cantabrian mountains in Spain. The church completely lost its original Romanesque mudija or brick architecture through centuries of rituals and tourism. It is impossible to recreate the original architecture with all its colors and beauty since there was no historical data available. Raman spectroscopy came as a surprise savior for the church. Raman spectroscopy took layer by layer the centuries of environmental destruction, the dust left by oil lamps in 13th century rituals, natural decay of the bricks. Raman spectroscopy brought back the original image of the architecture with the stunning details. In recent years, 13th century Pilgrim Church was remodeled to its original architecture with all its beauty and grandeur. Thanks to Sir Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman, a true scientist and a true patriot of India. In the field of medicine, Raman spectroscopy coming with a true revolution. You can literally test for cancer with the handheld instruments at primary care offices or even at a boutique drugstores in coming years. By catching the disease such an early stage dramatically reduces the cost of this fatal disease. A man from heaven gave a remarkable gift to humans. I am proud to share part of his name. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. My name is Ramana, but I'm a far from his discovery. I'm not as smart as him. Let me just so let me just I'm going to give you a very quick tour of the Raman spectroscopy. It is Raman is as you saw, is in everywhere in healthcare: drug discovery, cancer diagnostic, nanomedicine, clinical biology, and forensics, and all of them is there. For example, I give you This is a. Just want to explain to you what the Raman effect is. Raman scattering is, you see in the morning time or evening time, that you see the sunset and sunrise. You see the red color on the evening. You see the blue skies. They see that is a Rayleigh scattering. That's called 100% scatters from the sun, because we have a Earth's atmosphere scatters all the 100% of the light from coming from there. That's what you see. When it interacts with the atmosphere, like the wavelength of the sun's light with the atmosphere, then you get the different colors. So one day he was traveling in a, so that is a Rayleigh scattering. What is the difference between the, so one time there was a, used to be believe there was a belief, Rayleigh scattering is a Lord Rayleigh from England actually. Rayleigh scattering was a reflection of a lot of times the people thought until then until the Raman discovery, they thought, then when you're traveling, and then he was traveling from India to England, when he saw the ocean is a blue, so they used to think that it's a reflection of the sky. He didn't convince about that part. He said that there must be beyond that. It's not exactly a reflection of the sky. It is because the sky is a blue, because of the atmosphere. That's the wavelength of the white light reflects exactly the wavelength of the particles there. That's the blue wavelength. It is what you see, that you see blue sky. But Raman spectroscopy, he found out that is not the one reason the ocean is a blue. It's because there is a interaction happens after the light falls with the water. It's not just reflecting 100%. It is once in a while it interacts with the molecules of the water molecules, with hot oxygen and hydrogen atoms. It interacts with it. 1 in 1 million photons it emits after the interaction. That is called Raman scattering. What he found out is that in the discovery, that when it interacts, it either gains energy or loses energy. So that's a different names. I don't need to go into more of a science of that. But Raman discovered, with the limited resources in University of Calcutta, India, he discovered this one immediately. John Hopkins doctor, Robert Wood is a physicist in John Hopkins, immediately tested that one. They wanted immediately endorsed it, Raman spectroscopy. Yes, that invention is correct and validated. Then they gave him a Nobel Prize. They awarded a Nobel Prize in 1930. He won the Nobel Prize. And then he was knighted as a Sir. Sir C.V. Raman. Sir, in India, the names are a little bit confusing. The first name is all short because long names we have. Chandrasekhar Venkataraman, his name. So he won the Nobel Prize in 1930. So the Raman effect was, for a while, is dead. I tell you why. Because 1 in 1 million photons is a very weak radiation, very weak number. You cannot detect it that easy. Hard to detect. So they kept quiet. They just, it was went dead for years and years. Even though he won the Nobel Prize, they didn't see the actual practical applications for the Raman effect. So on the advent of the lasers, that came in avalanche of new things. In Bell Labs, they discovered it 1960. They discovered they invented the actual lasers, light amplification by stimulating emission radiation. That's what they call. Okay. That is the after the lasers. So you can get the concentrated Raman effect. That means you can catch more photons from the Raman effect. That was the big advance of the advantage of the laser beams. So Raman probes are now spectacular. One of the great things about Raman probes are spectacularly portable. They're all extremely easy to carry. So they're all one of the greatest things about Raman spectroscopy. A Raman effect is that extremely handheld. All of them are. That is a powerful of power given through the Raman spectroscopy. So what's the basis of that? The vibration spectrum. What is, for example, there's auras that I'm just giving you an example. What it does is when you put the lights, the lasers on your body, or you put the lasers through things on the cells, you expose the cells. What it does is it interacts with the cells inside, and then it gives you the vibrational spectrum of. So you will know the exact cell structure, because the cell's vibration is gives you the state of the health of the cell at a cellular level. You will know exactly. That's what the Raman shift is called on the right side. Is the vibrational spectrum of the cellular level, molecular level. You will get the information. So the vibrations are not good in proper compared to the other healthy cells, that you know there is something wrong with that cell. So that is, you can find a way in advance. So Henry Brem is a neurosurgeon, a professor of neurosurgery in John Hopkins. He was using this Raman probe to detect, to the photoluminescence they use to detect cancers and do. So one of the biggest problem with the brain surgeries are eliminating all the cancerous growths, cancerous cells. So how do they find it? So they use a photoluminescence to lighten up. But the Raman spectroscopy hunts for it. That pen, Raman probe, that simple pen looks for it and then hunts for it, and then they can literally take it out from the surgery. On the right hand side, you see is actually the red dots are the cancerous material. So that's what you take it out from the Raman probe. So that is the power of the John Hopkins. There are a lot of right now. Just 1960 it came in. Lasers invented 1960. So now the universities in the United States are catching up. India is they don't even know what's going on in the West about the Raman spectroscopy. Uh, they now in Korea, South Korea, they developed a COVID Raman. You saw in the brain surgery in the tumors. For example, I want to go back to the brain tumors. They can do the same thing with the breast cancer, breast surgeries, breast tumors. Also, you can do the breast lumps, removal of the cancerous growth. You can remove the same way, the photoluminescence. In the COVID-19 rapid testing, they are infectious disease is one of the is the biggest challenge, because it's the Raman infectious disease is a Raman probe. They use a Raman. This is what they do is that they spit on the aluminum foil, basically aluminum plate, and then you put on the top of it, and then you put the Raman the probe, that machine you see on the in the picture. You put on it, it will tell you that somebody has a COVID-19 or not. Better than even genetics, as good as a genetic testing, not the antigen test. This is a more than a genetic testing, because it connects to the vibration spectrum of that COVID vibrational spectrum with the spectrum in the library. It compares and then confirms the it's at the molecular level. So it is not even that they use a surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy. It's called gold nanoparticles they use. So aluminum foil they use it to amplify the Raman effect. In the breast cancer, for example, it looks big on the left side, but a very simple instrument. What they do is a biochemical changes it recognizes way in advance. Now there are 2.26 million people die every year, and then due to diagnosis with the breast cancer, and 600,000 people deaths every year in the world with the breast cancer. It's one of the fatal diseases we need to address humanity. One of the things is detection. The problem is even the MRI or mammograms and all those things, the detection already formed, the lumps are already formed. This the growth is already in advanced stage. So biochemical changes, what the Raman spectroscopy does is it catches the biochemical changes, the vibrational spectrum. There is some anomaly in the vibrational spectrum. It gives you a signature mark, a hallmark of the cancers. So way in advance, you can find out way in advance. Even the genetic testing, it will tell you whether you have genes or not, but if it doesn't confirm that you can form the breast cancer or not, because epigenetics play a role there. So in that sense, Raman spectroscopy, it can give you way advance in a biochemical changes, a signature signal it gives you in advance. The next one is the Raman counterfeit drugs. India, we have a lot of problems. Rajiv, we can ask Rajiv about that. That is, we have a lot of problem with the with the with the probes are that India has a lot of metformin. The diabetic drugs are counterfeit drugs. So you can shoot it, and then as I was telling you in the video, you can easily find out through. These are all under the development right now. It's a very new, all the Raman spectroscopy. Now they use the Raman in the alien life. I saw Raman you saw in the breast cancer, you saw in the infectious diseases. Now Raman is in the alien life. It is installed a Raman spectroscopy. It is called a scanning habitable environment with a Raman luminescence. NASA people, the scientists don't know how to give their good names on it, so they gave one long name. It's called Sherlock. Actually, is named Sherlock. They mounted on the Perseverance rover on the Mars. It's really on the Mars right now, looking for the life, alien life. They want to see that if 4 billion years ago, when there was a water on the Mars, is there any life existed in the Mars? Is there any that the amino acids are there, or any carbon life that there, because they can see the reminiscence of that through the vibrational spectrum and the rotational spectrum. So it is there. Second one is the theology I was talking about. One of the things is, that they restored not only one church. Architects, a lot of architecture people know about it. They restored a lot of churches through Raman spectroscopy. But in fact, there is another one they did. It is a gospel of Jesus' wife. There was a document they found, a papri, I think they call paper. They call English for Latin word. It is a They found a thing. I don't know. I'm not a Christian, but as I heard from other people, it is a they found this document. There's a document that's saying that, talking about Jesus' wife. They wanted to verify the document is a 2,000 years old or not. So Raman spectroscopy actually whether Jesus is married or not, we don't know. But the document talks about Jesus' wife is actually confirmed. This Raman spectroscopy confirmed that it is a 2,000 years old. So Raman is everywhere. It is the next few centuries. This remarkable man from India is right now. India, they don't understand even what's going on in the West about the Raman spectroscopy. It is the forefront of everything. I think it is a really savior for the world. Thanks to a remarkable man from India. His father went to same school as his father was teaching in my school, Andhra University, and then he went to Voltaire from there, Vajag, and then his father was a physics professor. I did a master's in physics there. So actually I have some connection there, but long before. Then he moved on to the Calcutta. His father was a professor in my school. You know, thanks. Thanks for attending. Let me bring Rajiv and ask him a question about the presentation, and then ask about the great things from southern India, that all those Ayurveda, that from the land of the great scientists, and the Vedic knowledge, that we can ask him. Let me bring him back. Um, Welcome, Rajiv. Did you enjoy the presentation?
Yes, Ramana. I think first of all, my compliments to you for showcasing Dr. C.V. Raman's life and work, and putting it in a very, very uh, crisp and relevant fashion. So my compliments to you. I think it's definitely a service to many such scientists whom I'm sure you're showcasing for the common man. Thank you.
Thank you. So, one of the things is that I saw that a lot of times one of the common complaint in the United States is, we want to go to Ayurveda, but we don't know how to check all these credentials and the certifications of all these people.
Yeah.
What kind of process you think that we should do, and how you can help? Actually, can you help to standardize this process? Because you're a founder of Ayurveda hospitals in India. So is there anything that there's some standards you can come up with?
Yeah. So first of all, just to place things in perspective, there is a very well-developed regulatory system in India. Let me begin with India before we talk about the US. We have a National Council for Indian Systems of Medicine, which regulates, like the Medical Council of India. We have something like MCI. You have something similar for Ayurveda. There are some 700 Ayurveda colleges producing close to 35,000 people a year, doctors. Okay. And they come out after a 5.5 year rigorous program, 4.5 years of theoretical education with 1 year of internship. Of course, 4.5 years is a mix of practical and theory, but 1 year of internship, exactly equivalent to what happens in modern medicine. They come through a rigorous entrance exam, the same entrance exam that you write for modern medicine, you write the exam, and depending on your rank, you'll opt in. As things stand, after modern medicine, Ayurveda is a close second, and in many states, students who are getting into modern medicine also opt for Ayurveda. So there is a regulated intake into the system. Number two, there is a drugs controller for Ayurveda medicines. There are in every state there are drug controllers, right? So it's a well-developed system for pharmacology in terms of there is a pharmacopoeia of Ayurveda pharmacopoeia of India, API we call it, and then there are reference texts which are there, standards for medicines, all of that is there. This is at one level, okay? Now you look at the US today, by the nature of what is there in complementary medicine in the US, Ayurveda per se, there is no formal permission to practice Ayurveda in the manner in which you would practice it in India. But there are doctors of natural medicine or ND, there are certain other ways in which one can get an alternate qualification with which you practice. Now, if you were to start something in the US without having an MD of modern medicine, right, to approve what is being done, I would be doing something illegal. In some states, I believe there is some degree of permission, but it's a highly regulated, restricted way to do practice Ayurveda. Now, to bring standards into the US, the biggest challenge is in Ayurveda, most of the medicines we use are polyherbal, made from polyherbal extracts. It is not a single chemical entity. So if you look at most of modern medicine, it's a single chemical molecule. And therefore, standardization becomes extremely complex, if not impossible.
Yeah.
So you can only define a range. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me talk about regulations a little bit. I think, you can do private setting that you could do MDs, you can certify MDs in the
Yeah.
say that you go through this kind of a process that you can certify that the MDs can do that, and the NDs and MDs can do additional certification. You can you do that. Actually, is no problem at all if you're doing a private courses on that one, and then see these are the standards, and then your core standards. So you always can start a core standard lab. These are the core lab. We have a lot of experience. You may not be getting you're not going through the governmental standards, but you're doing the core standards that you're saying that private industry can see that these are with our experience we're starting. That's so it's not all you have to start with the government itself. I'm not saying that you need to practice. You cannot do the practicing the seeing patients without the proper licensing credentials, but you can give existing people, the NDs and MDs, you can give some kind of a core standards. You can provide that, but besides
Yeah.
that,
No, so I agree with you. I agree with you. So if you look at Switzerland, that's what they do. They have a certification program for existing modern medicine MDs to come and learn Ayurveda and then be able to practice in Switzerland. But the challenge which I would like to tell is a science like this with a 2-year certificate course or whatever still cannot get you to the level of depth which the science demands. So the other part is FDA. I just want to conclude by telling, because these medicines, what are medicines in India, cannot be treated as medicines in the US. So to bring it as a dietary supplement is something which is unfortunate, but that is what is happening with Ayurveda in the US.
let me talk about dietary supplements a little bit. A warning for all of people. There's a lot of people are selling dietary supplements. They have a lot of high levels of, without any proper supervision, they have high levels of mercury and lead is there. That's what they're complaining. So I think, people who claim to be, they have Ayurveda medicines, they're not properly monitored in that sense.
I just want to qualify that because the point of high levels of mercury and lead, etc., it is not in the herbal medicines which are sold. Secondly, medicines which are exported from India, Ayurveda medicines or food products, are subjected to a higher quality standard. So they comply with higher lab testing, and therefore most of the medicines which are going are already tested for lead content, etc., and they would comply, is my understanding, right? I think it's 5 ppm or something, 5 parts per million, or less than that is, I think, the permitted standard. It would comply with that. But
No, I'm not talking about India, Rajiv. What I'm talking about here is there is a lot of people, so third-party people in this country that started selling Ayurveda products. Some of them are not well monitored.
that is there. There also there is this thing to be understood. There is a Rasaushadhi tradition and there is a Kashtaushadhi tradition, which means in Ayurveda, you have medicines which are made from physical chemistry. Let's call it as metallic compounds. And so there is a Rasaushadhi tradition, classical way to make medicine, which is made with mercury and sulfur, and those things are coming into the preparation. So that would, of course, go against the law of the land very often. And that is why there is a difficulty. But the perception is people assume Ayurveda medicine is one category, undifferentiated.
Yeah.
There are two types, and the herbal medicines don't have that problem,
Correct.
other
I
than
wanted to, yeah.
adulterants. Yeah.
Very good. Well, you're truly educational for all of us. I wanted to ask you. So we are what is we are the whole world, United States in particular, going through a mental
Yeah.
health crisis. So in the world, the overall world after this pandemic, we are coming out of the pandemic. It is really going on so much. What does Ayurveda says about mental health?
Well, if you really ask, Ayurveda comes from Sankhya, and if you look at yoga, which is the Hatha Yoga and the yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, right? They also come from Sankhya, the yoga tradition, right? The Patanjali Yoga Sutras, etc. So why I'm bringing this up? Both have a common basis in terms of the structure of life itself. So how life originates and so on. So therefore, the basic concepts of Chitta, Mano, Buddhi, Ahankar, if you were to tell, the Trigunas, and of course in yoga, in the Yoga Sutras, Chitta includes Mano, Buddhi, Mano, Buddhi. In Vedanta, which is in contrast to yoga, there's Chitta, Mano, Buddhi, Ahankar. So that is the small distinction. Having said that, the Trigunas, the gunas is where the mental characteristics really come to play. So in Ayurveda, we define, like you have the Tridoshas of Kabha, Pitta and Vata, right? Vata, Pitta, Kabha. The Manasika doshas.
What does that mean? Can you translate in English, please?
The Vata, Pitta, Kabha. I'll quickly tell that. Yeah, in fact, that's an interesting thing from a physicist standpoint. I will just quickly tell. And equivalent, you have the Manasika doshas, which is the Trigunas, which is the mental characteristics are Trigunas, which are very important to know. So quickly, if you go back to the Sharirika, the physical doshas, or the physical characteristics which are there, you would say that the three doshas define, and the Trigunas define it's like the genetic, the genotype of a person is defined in that. And how you are able to, in those days, there is no way to figure out what are the genes of a person. They had no understanding. But at that time, they said, I can discern different profiles. So broadly, 7 profiles. So what, quickly to tell the Vata, Pitta, Kabha, before I explain what that is, let's understand conceptually, Kabha is structure in the body. If I were to look at a systemic approach, anything which is structure in the body is Kabha, right? Vata is functional aspect of the body. The structural aspect Kabha, the functional aspect is Vata, right? So you could say neurological functioning. But when I move my finger, it's because a nerve signal travels from my brain indicating me to move this finger, it moves. So that's Vata functioning. The heartbeat, everything. So there are 5 Vayus, the Pancha Vayus, and those Vayus control the functioning of the body. Pitta, in that sense, Vata, Pitta, Kabha. Pitta stands for the transformational element. So you have structure, function, and there is continuous transformation in the body. The structure is getting confirmed in, mass is into energy, energy into mass. That conversion is Pitta. So structure, function, transformation. Another way to look at it in a very simple way, if you look at the human body as a metabolic system, then Kabha is enthalpy and Vata is entropy. And Pitta is the thermodynamic, the energy transformational processes happening in this thermodynamic system, right? Now let's go back to what this Vata, Pitta, Kabha are, right? If I look at a human being, you can characterize through physical characteristics and mental characteristics. So for example, Vata is characterized by movement, change. Okay. Now, how do I quickly, bring this together? I'll do that in exactly 30 seconds or 20 seconds. So, when I look at Vata, it is movement and change, transformation. Kabha is inertia, the opposition to change. So, Vata is movement or change. Kabha is inertia, the resistance to, moving into motion or changing from a state of rest to motion, or from motion to rest, inertia, right? And Pitta, so if you take these two archetypes, Pitta is something in between in terms of neither this nor that, a balanced state. So from a mental characteristic angle, a Vata person is like a sinusoidal curve with with a high frequency, short wavelength. So somebody who's typically Vata in nature, his movements, his fast moving, fast talking, his emotions will change quickly. Shigra raga, shigra viraga. He'll be one moment happy, next moment unhappy. One moment crying, the next moment smiling. This type of quick sinusoidal changes in body and mind is Vata. A Kabha person, on the other hand, if he's happy, he will remain happy for a long time. If he's angry, he'll remain angry. So I keep telling, if you, a Kabha person, if you try to provoke him, he will not get angry. Once he gets angry, he will take a machine gun and shoot many people. This is the other extreme. So inertia. I told about, so there are broadly 7 Prakritis, combinations of Vata, Pitta, Kabha. So if you take this, you have typically somebody who's predominantly Vata, predominantly Pitta, predominantly Kabha, 3. There is 3 count. Then combinations of 2, Vata. So if you take, it's actually 3 NC2 plus 3 NC, if you take combinations of this. So 7 combinations are broadly there. All of us can be put into that. The mental part of Ayurveda goes beyond what I told so far in terms of the sinusoidal curve, etc., to look at the manasika doshas, which are sattva, raja, tamas. Now, why this becomes important is every material, right? You look at materia medica, you just go and look at any dravya material, has got a certain guna, okay? It's got a certain nature. I have a certain nature. When I eat food, right, it adds to my nature or reduces my nature. It works opposite. So what is the right food for me? It maintains the equilibrium of my doshas. When I eat food, when the environment interacts with me, anything that I interact with the environment has an impact on my doshas. When my doshas go up and down, that's why when my prakriti becomes vikriti. So similarly, at a mental level, a rajasic person,
Go ahead.
I
Go
think
ahead.
we are probably going.
Yeah, close it.
Rajasic
Yeah. Finish your thoughts.
A Rajasic person is somebody whose actions are driven by passion. A Tamasic person whose actions are driven by ignorance. A Sattvic person whose actions are driven by awareness.
So,
So,
question is, how do you change among themselves? What practice you need to become a sattvic person or good
so
person, or
you've
all the
gone with a
characteristics?
desired goal. So, depending on the situation, you need to be Rajasic in some situation. In some situation, so everybody is a mix of all of these. One or more predominant. But if you were to really say, to get the sattva on, first of all, the tamas has to be cleared out. To clear tamas, which is inertia, you need action. So the first step is to go into a little bit more of rajasic activity. If you have tamas in you, to clear the tamas. And as the tamas gets cleared, your sattva will automatically start coming in. Because the darkness goes, sattva comes. I'm not done yet. As the sattva increases, the rajas keeps on doing, the concept of karma yoga comes, where through the proper performance
Action.
of karma or action, the sattva component becomes bigger and bigger, and till it becomes nishkama karma, where the rajas goes down and the sattva comes up. I've given you a technical answer.
Yeah.
Practically, can go in for a longer answer.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Vasudevan. It's a truly honor. We learned so much. Ayurveda has so much to offer, I think, to this world. I think the world recognizes that, in fact. So it's, as you said, that is structural, functional transformation medicine. That is, we are now learning the 3 areas of that one. Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's truly an honor to talk with you, Rajiv. And we need a special class for you from the Ayurveda side of it. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ramana and Daily Way for Medicine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste to all. Yeah.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.